questions. I'm going to start first, if nobody minds. This is a simple yes or no question. We can start on the end. Paul Graziano mentioned before about the two landmarks, potential landmarks for our district. One was is the Ailes House, which was built by the Bell family in the 1870s, the same years as this building was built. That's one that I was involved, or we were involved in here at VHS, and we were also involved in Hawthorne Court Apartments. It's a beautiful Tudor building. It's an apartment building. It's right near, not too far from the Starbucks. It's near the 43rd to 14th. It's right near the landmark cemetery that we maintain, the Lawrence Family Cemetery. Speaking about Hawthorne Court Apartments, that came before our current council, and we had overwhelming support. We had support from the community. We had letters from board members here and from across the community. We had support from State Senator Antonio Bello. We had support from the Borough President's office. We had a lot of support. Ed Bronstein's office also supported. We had a lot of support. Yet the current councilman said that he would not support it because he was against landmarking, even though he sat here at the similar forum and said that he was in support of it. So my question to you all is, a simple yes or no, if Hawthorne Court Apartments comes up to you in your term as councilman, now I'm talking with community support, but owner opposition, would you support that landmarking, or would you, because if the councilman does not support that landmarking, it doesn't go anywhere. That's just the unwritten rule. So
I support the landmarking. Yes. Yes. Yes, I support it.
Yes, I would be supportive.
You're all on record. Henry's going to read the question for you.
Okay, we have a whole bunch of questions here from the audience, and so what we thought we would do, we would go through them rather quickly and give each candidate just 30 seconds to respond, 30 seconds or less. Okay? First question, what % of your donations to your campaign came from real estate developers, lobbyists, and land use lawyers, as well as specialists?
I actually have this all broken out, and I will give you the, I believe it was $459 from real estate, none from lobbyists, none from unions. It actually came out to be less than 1% of my contributions, with more than 70% coming from in-district residents and a little bit outside Manhattan, and one donation coming in from Florida, my old employer.
I don't know the exact percentage. I can say that I have well over 85% of the 100,000 plus that we have raised that's come from small New York City-based contributions. Very proud of that. Those are middle-class families, those are teachers, those are nurses, those are firefighters, and those are cops. Those are people who live in the building. If I had to estimate how much came from the real estate community, I would say fewer than 10% of the contributions. But again, that would be just an estimate.
It's one of the few issues you're ever going to hear that Austin and I agree completely on, even to the same figures. I don't know the exact figure. It would really depend for developers. It would really depend on the definition of what is a developer. There are a few affluent individuals. No, that snickering is kind of inappropriate, and I am strongly against overdevelopment. I'm strongly against developers. If I happen to have people, affluent people are invested in so many things, I don't want to, and I'll ask for some personal indulgence here, I don't want to say that I have zero from developers and then turn around and find that someone who has his fingers in a lot of investments was defined as a developer. But I would certainly say with Austin that it is certainly less than 10%, and very possibly zero. And if I went back and studied and asked my contributors what exactly are your investments in, I could give you and the group a precise answer.
Thank you,
For lobbyists, I think I counted $250.
I invite the audience to please go to the Campaign Finance Board to look for yourselves what the other candidates are saying, because I disagree with their assessments. I have taken zero money from developers. I have taken one donation from a contractor who is the husband of a civic president, and I have taken one large donation from someone who manages real estate, who I played indie rock with in 3 bands. And those are my developer things. And unfortunately, Paul Malone took almost 60% of his money from developers.
Well, I know the exact answer to this question for myself. 0 from developers and 0 across the board from lobbyists.
Thank you. The next question comes from somebody from Broadway Flushing area. And this person says that they've worked long and hard to preserve our area from overdevelopment, which will alter the character of our area for the worse. And they go on to say that all the candidates speak in terms of being against overdevelopment. How do we know for sure that you will protect our communities if you're elected?
Well, first and foremost, I'm not taking any money from any developers. So I don't have any conflict of interest there. I've been going around ringing doorbells, and I can't tell you how many people are saying that's the most important issue they face, because overdevelopment affects all of the city services. It burdens all of our city services. Even things like parking become a real problem with this overdevelopment. So I will stand up to overdevelopment. It's one of the fundamental precepts of my campaign. You can hold my feet to the fire on it.
Actions speak louder than words. I have spent the last 20 years fighting overdevelopment successfully in our communities. I have worked in Broadway Flushing. Just in the last month, the Broadway Flushing Homeowners Association won a huge lawsuit to enforce their deed restrictions. I was the expert witness. When no one else would come and stop a tear down on 32nd Avenue and 156th Street, I was there with the organization. That's all I have to say.
I guess there's no way to know for sure. We heard that the current councilman pledged one thing and then took another diametrically opposed position, which unfortunately was very much the story with him. You do have to look to the record, and I would take my entire life, and I'd go beyond just talking about developers in particular. I'm a lawyer by training. I've never worked for a private law firm except for a 3-month temporary stint. And I hope that means something to the person who was snickering at me about the previous answer. I've devoted my life to public service. I am no toddy of the developers and of any other private interests. As I said, I ran a national public interest group focused on quality of life.
Thank you, Dennis.
You know, quite honestly, you don't. You don't have any measuring stick to tell, and that's probably the only genuine, honest thing and promise that someone is going to make. You can listen, you can respond to what we're saying, you can say who you think is see who you think is genuine, who's actually putting forth ideas that you think are going to be within the best interest of the community, who you think that the development community is most targeting in this race because he or she will be the person in most opposition, but it's going to be up to you to decide whether our words are words or if they are action, as Paul said. And I hope that I do meet that test. I can make that kind of a promise to you because I'm very confident in my ability to stand up to developers who have made it their interest to see that I don't get into the council, because I know that I'm going to work hard to make sure that the overdevelopment they want to inflict on our neighborhood never happens.
Thank you, Austin.
To put it simply, your neighborhood is my neighborhood. I never left the neighborhood. I have been here all my life, and for the last 8 years, I have been fighting for our neighborhoods, fighting for public safety, putting in a lot of time, a lot of energy as a volunteer to do the types of things that we're all talking about today. It's my love for the community, it's my love for people, watching children grow. If I'm putting in that much time as a volunteer, and I made the improvements, and I stood up for everyone as a volunteer, I can only imagine the things I can do once elected to office.
Thank you very much. The next question is a yes or no question. Part of neighborhood preservation is supporting local schools. PS 130, located at Francis Lewis Boulevard on 42nd Avenue in Bayside, was taken from District 26 and local children are bused to overcrowded schools. District 25 children are bused into PS 130. The neighborhood wants its school back. Will you help us reclaim PS 130 for local children? The person says this is also a conservation issue because buses are polluting.
Yeah, very well. I'm very familiar with the... Sorry, did you get to know?
I'm sorry, does this have to be, this is a little bit more articulate. A lot of people are going to say that, but could we have 30 seconds to explain? 30 seconds, please.
I'm going to try to do this in a minute or under. I know the problem very well, and I don't think that taking PS 130 and moving it back into District 25 is going to solve the issue. District 25 and District 26 are both overcrowded districts. We need new schools, and we need to find places to put those schools. For PS 130, I would propose a compromise and a negotiation that, yes, children that live within 2 or on the same block or 3 blocks of the school should not be bused into other areas. We should negotiate and slowly but surely transition the percentage of seats in PS 130 to those children.
The answer for me is absolutely yes, it should be brought back in, but further than that, I wanted to mention that I think that the community should have a much greater role in school siting and planning. I believe that community boards should have veto power. I think that the new proposal to put the school by Kyle Brothers on 48 is absolutely the worst possible spot, and we are in very much need of new school construction. The best way to prevent overcrowding is real planning using census and birth rate data that we have at our fingertips but is simply not being used, greater transparency, public comment, and using that data to prepare school zones and school district lines that actually meet the needs of the community from the people who know their community best.
Yes, PS 130 should be brought back to District 26, and busing of children in opposite directions going past each other for any reason has never made sense. It's always been absurd. But ultimately, the solution is, as Chrissy said, we've got to do something about overcrowding in schools, and we should not be pitting our 2 very successful school districts here against each other.
As the only person running for council who stood to protest against the Kyle Brothers proposal on 48th Avenue, it's not just a question of school siting, it's a question of top-down decision-making from the Department of Education. PS 130, there's no question it should be in District 26. Our districts, compared to other districts in Queens, are actually not overcrowded at all. They're at 96 and 103%, as opposed to Jackson Heights, which is at 160%. So the issue here is capacity. There is going to be a need if we continue to grow. What people don't know generally is that population in the city has leveled off, and actually school kid population has gone down. So we may be in a crisis now. We'll have to see what happens in the future, but PS 130 should absolutely go to School District 26.
Yes, PS 130 should absolutely be returned to District 26. I agree with that. I also compliment the questioner on noting the environmental impact that busing has on our community. And I also think that obviously we do need more schools to be built, but the important thing is at this point that right now the Board of Education does not have any local input into school siting. And that's something that the city council member has to rectify and make sure that school siting decisions are made on a local community basis.